but I'm not able to just do the same thing as everyone else because I don't just want to make money. I want to make a product that is truly exceptional.
That's great.
So how would I approach that when everyone seems to be doing just pretty much the same thing?
By doing what you just said.
But how do you know, what is the next step on top of all these other like huge companies out there that are already doing very similar things?
Well, if you have the ambition and the audacity to make a truly exceptional product, you need to put in the work to figure out that question.
Is that something you did at VaynerMedia?
Yes, I decided to not do what you're doing right now, which was give any attention to anybody else doing anything. And I focused 100% of my attention on my people and on honing my craft at being the best social media marketing company in the world, even though everybody else who was multi-billion-dollar companies told me it could never work. Everybody else is a waste of time.
Where do you focus your time? If you were me, what would you be focusing your time on? I know there's social media, there's marketing, I've got to pack orders, emails coming, phone calls, I have a son, a life, after school things. Where do you focus your time on the business and your money?
Two things.
Okay.
Notice how I said 8 and 80 before?
Yes.
I hate the middle. The middle is a commodity. The edges is where it's interesting. So the answer to your question is the following. I would focus on my things when it's just you, on the things I've done in the same scenario and the things that I've observed from many that works. The shit that's most on fire, right? Whatever's fucking most on fire, it's like being in a boat. If there's a hole over here, you gotta put your finger there, right? The things that are most on fire, and then B, the things you like the most out of all the things you're doing. The things, by focusing on the things you like the most, whatever those things are, making the product, whatever it is, it's gonna give you the fuel to have the energy to fix the shit that's most on fire that will get you to the next phase where you can start bringing people in and afford to do the things you don't wanna do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
The key though, right now, so that's a good framework for you to think about, but the key that you have to really lean into right now is realize that you have to lean into patience. It's impossible for it to happen overnight.
I'm very patient. So
good. And what you need to do is just realize it's just a process and find the things that you enjoy about it. And then more importantly, I think you have a really, really strong product market fit. My favorite business in the world, always, is when somebody starts something to scratch their own itch or an itch they had. And so I think you gotta stay with that conviction because you're gonna help a lot of people.
My first talk was a TEDx talk.
Okay.
Which was incredibly nerve-wracking, thank you. And I really want to know how to go up from here because it feels like I've started off strong and very quickly stagnated and I just don't know where to go next.
Well, there's a lot to this. So first of all, I too at 26, because of a very different upbringing, had incredible passion to make an impact. And I didn't even speak until I was 33 to almost no one, very far away from a TEDx talk.
Yeah.
What I think you're doing is putting yourself into a position to mentally fail because you're not being patient, right?
Yeah.
Just because your next talk might be smaller or not as fancy as TEDx, it doesn't mean that you're not impacting. Your ability to impact is similar to Joe. Like, you should be making content every day about this.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be putting the magnitude of the speech on a pedestal. You should be doing the work for people on a pedestal.
Yeah. And that's ultimately where the heart's coming from.
Right.
I want to impact, but I just want to impact more.
Yes, I know that. Even the way you story told, right? You talked about 43 employees. That's impressive. People reacted. You talked about TEDx. It makes so much sense to me that you want to put things into context to speak to it. But if you're talking about helping, you can't be doing any of the helping for vanity or insecurity. You have to be doing it for helping.
Yep.
So just focus on the helping, not impressing us.
For sure.
What's something in your life that someone has done or you've observed that's that's been real, authentic kindness that you'll never forget?
Oh, that's a great fucking question. Michael or Angela. You know, it's a really good question. So, I would say, by a distant margin, the way my mom has lived her life is very clear when I hear this question. I've just watched her spend her entire life giving energy to everyone without asking any in return. You know? And so it's funny, when you ask the question, it's a good question, and I've really tried to go into my mind on, can I think of anything that is more one-off than what I just answered, right? I was thinking like, that's the answer that came right away, but I think I've established that, and I'm sitting here quickly as you were asking it, is there something else I can say that might bring value as well? But then as I process it, it's just so obvious to me that there's not even a distant second. I'll tell you where it shows up now that I could build on what I just said. By observing my mom live that life, and by having similar DNA and then being inspired and parented to do the same, what has happened is something interesting, which is I see it very clearly in young children outside. The purest form of kindness I see is when kids normally under the age of 8 stop what they're doing when they're playing when one of them gets hurt. When I watch 8 kids at a playground play and somebody gets hurt, almost always all 7 or 6 other kids continue to play, but one comes over and comforts that child. That deeply empathetic under 8-year-old is the one I thought of when you asked me the question.
Thanks for sharing that.
You know what, do you understand what I'm saying? Because what that represents for me is they haven't even lived life enough to know about anything. They're just doing it because they're doing it. There is no reason they're doing it. It's in them. And this is why I'm passionate about empathy and kindness and compassion and sympathy, because it's good. It's really good. And if you really watch the interact, this is why I want more of you to go out in the world and observe. And I think the edges are interesting. Under 8, over 80. There's a lot of fucking answers there. But don't do it with people in your family because that's too contextual. It's too convoluted. It's got baggage. Start, like the next time you go to the airport, watch. Look for 80-year-olds and look for 8-year-olds and watch. You'll get really interesting answers.